Okay, so I know some of you have probably seen this. You can see it online. It's a lot better. Donna, have you seen this? You know what we're going to do? All right, good. So this is the fill line. Okay, let's just call that the fill line so it's safer. Because we've had overflow problems. All right, so the question is, this is a pickle jar given to me by my friend Jeff. He gave me a pickle jar, and these are golf balls, obviously. And the question is this jar full? Fair enough. Is the jar full, Paul? No. Anybody think the jar is full? No. Okay. Depends on what you think is full. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see. Okay, so now we can say, are you see, there it goes. All right. What do you guys think? Jar full? No? All right. No, we agree, no? All right, thank you, my assistant Vanna White. Is it full? No, it's not full, right, Paul? Are you enjoying this?
This is great.
Okay, do you know where it's going?
It reminds me of being in kindergarten.
Okay, oh, geez, it's gonna get worse. These are really hard to, Patrick, how do you feel about cleaning all this up, that job you took? All right. Just assume they've gone down, will you please? Let's assume. All right. Would it be full now? Who says yes?
I say
yes. Pretty full, right? If we assume it's been full, okay. Pretty full. All right. Huh? All right. All right. Well, that's supposed to go down.
Give it some time.
Is it going down? How about that? All right, this has some issue there. I'll turn it that way. That looks, oh, look at that. Hang on. Are we drinking this? Yeah. You ever sit at a bar where the bartender's making your drink and you're like, enough! It doesn't need any more in it. If you put one more vegetable in my drink, I'll kill you. Why do they put ice in a drink? I'd say that's valuable.
Good real estate.
All right. Now what do you think?
Yes.
All right. Who thinks we're full? Reese?
I think we're full.
All right.
I don't. No.
Hey, there you go. Okay. So it needs some work, I know. All right. Let's say that filled it all the way up. All right, full now?
It's full.
Is it full now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's full. Yeah, I would agree it's full. Okay. Why are we doing this? The pickle jar is me. The pickle jar is you. The golf balls represent God. The marbles represent things like my family, AA, church, kids, and grandkids. The marbles. The crystals represent my job, my health, my fitness, my charitable work, my dating, for him, my friends, education, music. We put music down. We're kind of keeping this around, okay? The sugar represents fun, like golf, my friends, exercise, TV, travel, hiking, skiing, reading, and swimming, those types of things. You follow me? Yeah? Okay, everybody agree? So you can follow it?
Yes.
I am the pickle jar. And if I put God in first, I have room for everything. But if my life is filled with sugar, I don't have room for God. If it's filled with marbles, look at what the marbles were. Family, AA, church, kids, all that stuff. That's pretty good stuff, right? But if my whole life is filled with that stuff, I probably won't put God in. You know, and I'll be full of, you know what? Marbles. All right? So that's just something to think about. You know, when my life is filled with sugar, it's pretty hard to get any God in. I'm real frustrated. I'm not enjoying it. All of a sudden, I don't enjoy my golf. I don't enjoy my skiing, my hiking as much because I didn't pray in the morning. I don't pray at night. Yeah, Joe?
I'll let you finish that.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, but okay, now you've shown us the product over there. I'd like to see you show me how you're going to remove it, some of this stuff.
I'm going to give it to Patrick. So what do you think of that? Yeah. All right. All right. Oh, thank you. Put them in for Patrick. There you go. Thanks,
Hey,
Patrick.
Paul, what's the chocolate milk for?
Ah, How about that? What's the chocolate? Everything's better with chocolate. And if you do it online, they put beer in sometimes. They say everything's better with a beer, but that's not for us. My brother, speaking of that, everything's better with a beer. My brother is converted to Baptist. And this is kind of in the dogma of Baptists. I've always wondered why Baptists don't drink. And anybody here Baptist, by the way, before I offend you?
Daddy-o was.
Okay, Daddy-o. So you'll know this. You tell me if I'm wrong. But the Baptists say, when they're asked why they don't drink, they say, drinking serves no purpose at all. And the line, like I was watching my brother, he was being interviewed by this pastor. Hello, you missed it. Did you miss it? You missed it.
I have no doubt that the universe is unfolding exactly.
All right, we'll do it afterwards. We'll do it afterwards. So I'm watching this interview. This pastor's interviewing my brother, and he's telling about how he's kicked the drinking and stuff, which is great. And then the pastor says, alcohol serves no purpose at all. That nobody's ever once said, I'm so glad I took a drink. Right? And that is, what was the old temperance movement? Right? And you might remember the temperance movement. We don't. He led it. And even in our book it says the temperance movement would do no good to us if we were, I forget, what does the book say? Do you remember? It talks about the temperance movement, about, nobody has time for those who hate drinking. And anyway, this pastor says that alcohol serves no purpose in life. I have no idea why I'm talking about this, but I disagree. I follow Christ. What was his first miracle?
Turning water into wine.
Into wine. You think he felt it served a purpose?
Yeah.
For the party. Yeah. It enhanced the party. For the normal drinkers. It does. And we're going to read that in Vision for You. It's going to start off in the very first paragraph, the purpose of alcohol. So, I disagree with that pastor. I think booze does serve a purpose for normal drinkers. But if you remember, and this goes back to our first night. Remember, our second night we read doctor's opinion, and the doctor's opinion all about the allergic reaction I have. Any liquor put into me, I react abnormal. And the great obsession is that someday, somehow, I'm going to learn how to drink normally. But I have this physical allergic reaction. Remember, on our first night, we did a priority list. What is important? And that's what this is about. This is about my priority list. So we're wrapping it up with our priority list. If God is number one, I'll fill myself with the golf ball image, that I'll fill myself with God, and then I'll go out to my day and start working on those things that I desire. But first I got to desire God into my life, and I do it through, and we talked about it with the 11th step about the prayer and meditation and the habits that we pick up, and we're always going deeper. Like if I'm doing 5 years from now, if I'm doing the same things I'm doing today, I probably haven't grown very much. So if you're new in recovery, and you're praying on the way to work, awesome. If you're praying on the way to work 10 years into recovery, you might have a problem with your program. That's not, it's deep that was deep for me. 2 weeks into it, 3 weeks into it, to leave the radio off. Remember, I would talk to people about, I'm driving without the radio on in the morning. I was like, God, that's awesome. But today, if that's all I'm doing, that's my God time, and I probably haven't gone very far in my program. And just recently, because of Lent, one of the challenges of Lent was silence. So I've left the radio off in the car. It kind of brought me back to the first days I was sober. Was, can I be silent in the car on the way there? So, hey, look at that. We're going to pass the bucket right away. Right there. All right, we're on A Vision for You, page 151. And we're going to get a hit right away of how normal drinks. Now, you might have noticed we've skipped some chapters. So we skipped To the Wives, which I read every once in a while with sponsees, and the things I like to the wives, you'll find in there it tells that we do the steps in a few weeks. He's writing to the wives, and he's saying you may be resentful that a sponsor did in a few weeks what you couldn't do in a lifetime. He talks about doing the steps in a few weeks. We skip to the employers. We're skipping these chapters because they're the Al-Anon chapters. To the Employers was written by Hank Parkhurst. To the Employers, I like to have sponsees read to the employers and see if they can find God or service work. And you won't find either one in To the Employers. And then Hank Parkhurst, of course, drinks again and dies drunk. And if you watch, To the Employers starts off with 3 suicides. It's a beautiful, the first 2 pages is loaded with heartbreak of these 3 suicides, or what Wilson's going to call frothy emotional appeal. and it doesn't work with us. But yet there's Hank, starts off with frothy emotional appeal. So I like to read to the employers, because it's kind of a what not to do. If it's almost, well, it's like how to stay sober without doing the steps. Use fear, use all of this stuff. So that, and then we get the beautiful chapter, well, I did it wrong there. It goes wives, family afterward, then to the employers. And the family afterwards, a beautiful chapter about how we show up in our families, what our families can expect. And those are the Al-Anon chapters. So tonight we're on a vision for you. The first paragraph is going to be how normal drinkers drink, why normal drinkers drink. So you ready, Reese?
Ready.
We're on page 151.
Hi everyone, Reese, alcoholic.
Hey, Reese.
All right, chapter 11, a vision for you. For most normal folks, drinking means conviviality, companionship, and colorful imagination. It means release from care, boredom, and worry. It is joyous intimacy with friends and a feeling that life is good. But not so with us in those last days of heavy drinking. The old pleasures were gone. They were but memories. Never could we recapture the great moments of the past. There was an insistent yearning to enjoy life as we once did, and a heartbreaking obsession that some new miracle of control would enable us to do it. There was always one more attempt and one more failure.
Step one.
The less people tolerated us, the more we withdrew from society, from life itself.
Remember when Bill started drinking? He drank because he was lonely, and it worked. But look how he's writing now. We withdrew from society. I don't know about you, but my drinking, I ended up alone. Drinking and drugging alone, and that's what I wanted.
As we became subjects of King Alcohol, shivering denizens of his mad realm, the chilling vapor that is loneliness settled down. It thickened, ever becoming blacker. Some of us sought out sordid places, hoping to find understanding, companionship, and approval.
Circle that word, approval. We've talked a lot about approval, haven't we? By the way, this paragraph is believed to have been written by Hank Parkhurst.
Momentarily we did. Then would come oblivion and the awful awakening to face the hideous four horsemen: terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair. Unhappy drinkers who read this page will understand. Now and then a serious drinker, being dry at the moment, says, I don't miss it at all, feel better, work better, having a better time. As ex-problem drinkers, we smile at such a sally. We know our friend is like a boy whistling in the dark to keep up his spirits. He fools himself. Inwardly, he would give anything to take half a dozen drinks and get away with them. He will presently try the old game again, for he isn't happy about his sobriety. He cannot picture life without alcohol. Someday he will be unable to imagine life either with alcohol or without it. Then he will know loneliness such as few do. He will be at the jumping off place. He will wish for the end.
Sometimes I'll hear somebody share in a meeting, and they'll say things like, I'm sober for 3 weeks, I can't believe how great things are. And then they'll go on, and you can hear how thirsty they are. So after the meeting, I'll go up and I'll say, hey, Sally, I really enjoyed your share. Now this works to get someone's attention. I liked your share, Sally. And they'll say, my name is Chase, it's not Sally. And I'll say, oh no, you're Sally. And I'll read this with them. And I've done this with guys, and they'll say, I am so thirsty. I had one guy went out to the park in the 24-hour club, and I thanked Sally, and he said, my name's not Sally, and so. I said, no, and I read this with him, and 4 minutes later, he walked over, 5 minutes later, he walked over to his trunk, opened it up, and gave me the bottle of vodka that was in the trunk. I said,
Why do you pick the name Sally?
sometimes we smile at such a Sally. See the top of the page? We smile at such a, we know our friend is like a boy was inwardly, I love this, inwardly. He would give anything to take half a dozen drinks and get away with it. Can anybody relate to that?
Yes.
Yes.
And you're sharing in meetings, telling how great everything is going, how happy you are. You're so thirsty, you'll hear them.
We have shown how we got out from under. You say, yes, I'm willing. But am I to be consigned to a life where I shall be stupid, boring, and glum like some righteous people I see? I know I must get along without liquor, but how can I? Have you a sufficient substitute?
Okay, now we're going to get 34, there's 56 paragraphs in this chapter. 34 of them are going to tell us how the fellowship works, and it's how the fellowship with a small f works.
Yes, there is a substitute, and it is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry.
You think those are 3 things to worry about? Boredom and worry and care? Yeah.
Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus we find the fellowship, and so will you. How is that to come about, you ask? Where am I to find these people? You're going to meet these new friends in your own community. Near you, alcoholics are dying helplessly like people in a sinking ship. If you live in a large place, there are hundreds. High and low, rich and poor, these are future fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. Among them you will make lifelong friends. You will be bound to them with new and wonderful ties, for you will escape disaster together, and you will commence shoulder to shoulder your common journey. Then you will know what it means to give of yourself that others may survive and rediscover life. You will learn the full meaning of love thy neighbor as thyself.
I'm saying, catch that. I'm supposed to love myself. How do you like that? Remember in the Bible, the commandment, that's a commandment, right? He said, I'll give you a new commandment 2,000 years ago. We gotta love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's a commandment to love myself. My drinking and drugging sure didn't look like self-love. I hated myself when I came in. Anybody ever go into Barnes Noble and ask them for the self-help section? Next time you go into a book section, say, I want the help others section. And then you know what book? There's only one book in there, and that's this one, How to Help Others. Because the whole book up to today has been telling us that if you really want to get happy, help someone, serve someone. It's over and over and over. And that's what these are, right? These are all pages that talk about helping someone. And of course, this whole chapter, that's what it's about.
It may seem incredible that these men are to become happy, respected, and useful once more. How can they rise out of such misery, bad repute, and hopelessness? The practical answer is that since these things have happened among us, they can happen with you. Should you wish them above all else and be willing to make use of our experience, we are sure they will come. The age of miracles is still with us. Our own recovery proves that.
You are the proof that AA works. It's undeniable when you share your story honestly that it's working. Just point out the fact you're not drinking and you're happy. And by the way, if you're drinking and you're not happy, you're probably not doing it right. You're probably not doing it right, because I want to be happy, joyous, and free. That's why I was drinking, and it wasn't working. Why would I come in here and get sober and be miserable? I could be drinking and be miserable. So when I'm happy, joyous, and free, and I'm sober, and I sit with a newcomer, that's what I'm telling them. I know what it's like to be drinking and miserable.
Our hope is that when this chip of a book is launched on the world tide of alcoholism, defeated drinkers will seize upon it to follow its suggestions. Many, we are sure, will rise to their feet and march on. They will approach still other sick ones, and fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous may spring up in each city and hamlet, havens for those who must find a way out. In the chapter, Working with Others, you gathered an idea of how we approach and aid others to health. Suppose now that through you several families have adopted this way of life. You will want to know more of how to proceed from that point. Perhaps the best way of treating you to a glimpse of your future will be to describe the growth of the fellowship among us. Here is a brief account.
So try to keep in mind that when he's writing all of this, it's like 86 guys have gotten sober through the program that he's describing. He's under 100. It's going to get a little bit more than 100. Might have been more than 100, but probably not when he wrote this chapter. But you'd think there's thousands of guys, wouldn't you? The way he's writing it, doesn't it sound like there's thousands? And I love the way he writes. It's so optimistic. When they asked the guys to write the stories, they asked them to write their personal stories. These 42 stories in the first edition. I don't think it was quite 42. I can look it up, but they said, we want you to write how this book is affecting you. They hadn't written the book yet. Isn't that great? Write how this book has affected you, going to affect you, but act as if it's already affected you. Isn't that wonderful? The optimism. All right.
Years ago in 1935, one of our number made a journey to a certain western city.
That's Bill's trip to Akron.
From a business standpoint, his trip came off badly. Had he been successful in his enterprise, he would have been set on his feet financially, which at the time seemed vitally important.
So in his life, if he would have gotten the marbles, the work, right, his life would have been great, except he wouldn't have any golf balls in him, in his pickle jar.
But his venture wound up in a lawsuit and bogged down completely. The proceeding was shot through with much hard feeling and controversy. Bitterly discouraged, he found himself in a strange place, discredited and almost broke. Still physically weak and sober but a few months,
5.5 months. There's a lot of alcoholic thinking here.
he saw that his predicament was dangerous. He wanted so much to talk with someone, but whom? One dismal afternoon, he paced a hotel lobby, wondering how his bill was to be paid.
That's the Mayflower Hotel.
At one end of the room stood a glass-covered directory of local churches. Down the lobby, a door opened into an attractive bar. He could see the gay crowd inside.
It wasn't a gay bar.
In there, he would find companionship and release. Unless he took some drinks, he might not have the courage to scrape an acquaintance and would have a lonely weekend.
Okay, listen to this thinking.
Of course, he couldn't drink, but why not sit hopefully at a table, a bottle of ginger ale before him? After all, had he not been sober 6 months now? Perhaps he could handle, say, 3 drinks, no more.
Uh-oh. Now remember, up to this point, he had talked to all kinds of different men. He had gone to Towns Hospital a lot when he was in his worry during his darker days, and it was working. But here he is 6 months later, not one of those guys had gotten sober. So Bill is really without a sponsee, and he's not calling Abby. Of course, back then a phone call from Akron to New York might have been quite a job to do. So he's got everything working against him.
Fear gripped him. He was on thin ice. Again, it was the old insidious insanity, that first drink. With a shiver, he turned away and walked down the lobby to the church directory. Music and gay chatter still floated to him from the bar.
But image that, remember when we put the chart up about renouncing drinking, how we don't renounce drinking. How when I'm renouncing drinking, I'm still thinking about it. But he does something. He turns and faces the church directory. It's an imagery of turning and facing God. He's in deep despair. What am I going to do? But he knew there was probably something in that church directory. You know, he didn't say, I'm not going to drink no matter what. No way tonight. And go up to his room and be miserable. I've done that before. And then the next morning go, oh, thank God I didn't drink. And by noon I'm drinking, going, why didn't I drink last night? Anybody ever have that experience?
Yes.
I wasted a night. Yeah. Okay. So now he faces the church directory, or if you like, he faces constant thought of others.
Hi everybody, I'm Karen, alcoholic.
Karen.
But what about his responsibilities, his family and the men who would die because they would not know how to get well? Ah, yes, those other alcoholics.
He's not thinking about drinking anymore.
There must be many such in this town. He would phone a clergyman. His sanity returned, and he thanked God. Selecting a church at random from the directory, he stepped into a booth and lifted the receiver.
He's going to call a man named Reverend Tunks.
And that's an action step.
Help me out. What's
That's
that?
an action step.
Yeah, he took an
Picking up
action.
the
Thank you,
phone.
Paul. Yeah, he took an action, and it wasn't swearing off drinking. His thoughts of others. Man, maybe there's somebody I can help. How am I going to find them? His wheels start turning.
His call to the clergyman led him presently to a certain resident of the town who, though formerly able and respected, was then nearing the nadir of alcoholic despair. It was the usual situation: home in jeopardy, wife ill, children distracted, bills in arrears, and standing damaged. He had a desperate desire to stop, but saw no way out, for he had earnestly tried many avenues of escape. Painfully aware of being somehow abnormal, the man did not fully realize what it meant to be alcoholic.
So this refers to Bill's first visit with Dr. Bob. Later, they became co-founders of AA. Bill's story opens the text that Dr. Bob had the story section. But he leaves something out here. He didn't get Bob right away. He calls Tunks. Tunks leads him to Henrietta Seiberling, who is Ann Smith's sponsor in the Oxford group. Ann Smith is married to Dr. Bob. Ann Smith and Henrietta had Bob on these prayer lists. They were praying for Bob. He couldn't stop drinking. And what happened is when Bill calls and gets a hold of her, she calls Ann and says, there's a guy who knows something about alcoholism, about getting sober. He wants to come talk to Dr. Bob. Well, she says, love to, but he's passed out. He's drunk. He's in no condition. Maybe the next day we can come. So they say, okay, Henrietta says to Wilson, come by my house, and then they're gonna meet us here. So Bill goes up to his room. He doesn't go to the bar. Think of the solution that just happened. I bet he goes, I don't know what happens when he goes up to his room. I don't even know if he goes up to his room. Maybe he goes for a walk. Maybe he does any number of things. He does not drink. But I bet he's sitting there with the wheels spinning. What am I gonna say to this guy? I wonder what he's gonna be like. I hope he's got a real bad drinking problem. These are all thoughts I've had when I'm gonna meet with a new guy for the first time. The night before, I'm thinking about this guy. And I'm wondering, what do I do? How tough should I be? Should I be kind? Should I be tough? All these things start spinning. And it's very difficult to start thinking about the gay bar, the gay chatter, that great smell of a bar, all the things that draw me in. All of a sudden they just leave you. And it's wonderful. Now, Bob is sitting with his wife. She's mad. It's the next day. And I know what this is like. Man, oh my God, I'm sick, please. I'm just sorry. All right, I'm sorry. And so he finally agrees. He goes, all right, I'll give the guy 15 minutes and then lay off. And they talked for 5 hours and 45 minutes, just under 6 hours. And Bob would later describe it as he knew, Wilson knew what he's talking about. You know what Bill's first words were to him? You look like you need a drink. Yeah, because he knows what it looks like when you need a drink. And they had it. I mean, they just smoked cigarettes and had coffee in a library, I think a library room.
It was at the Gatehouse.
That's at the Gatehouse. So Cyberlin's a very interesting tire. She's the ex-wife. Goodyear, is it?
Firestone.
Thank you, Firestone. The founder's son. The founder of Firestone is her ex-father-in-law. Am I right, Tom? Mm-hmm. Close enough? And she's living in the Gatehouse. And it's just, wow, what a coincidence, huh? Are there any coincidences in life? And Bill's gonna be really relieved when he hears about Bob's drinking, because he knows Bob's got it bad. Anybody ever been to Dr. Bob's house in Akron? Yeah. It's quite a tour, isn't it? Yeah. Now, when I went there, the volunteers take you through the tour, and all they could do is keep telling me where Bob was hiding bottles. They were just obsessed with, you hit him in here, you hit him in here, you hit him in there. It's like, yeah, I know, but where would they do the third step? Where would they do the third step? Well, that was upstairs, but yeah, the toilet and the sink. And then he's got the cars down below, or the pictures of the cars. He was a bit of a
Milk chute.
Yeah, that's where he hid the bottles. Yeah, I know, I heard that one. Laundry chute, milk chute, toilet. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They were very excited about where he was hiding the bottles.
When our friend related his experience, the man agreed that no amount of willpower he might muster could stop his drinking for long.
I hope you guys got that. When our friend related his experience, I tell my story.
A spiritual experience, he conceded, was absolutely necessary, but the price seemed high upon the basis suggested. He told how he lived in constant worry about those who might find out about his alcoholism. He had, of course, the familiar alcoholic obsession that few knew of his drinking. Why, he argued, should he lose the remainder of his business only to bring still more suffering to his family by foolishly admitting his plight to people from whom he made his livelihood?
So Bill, in their very first meeting, started talking about the amends process, about what Dr. Bob was going to have to do. And Bob's ego, now Bob is a proctologist, and he is the only one in Akron he's a surgeon, and he's the only one with the capability to do this surgery. That's how he keeps his job through all of his drinking problems. And what happens is he's telling Wilson, I'll ruin my reputation. He doesn't realize his reputation is nothing in town. But he's going to find out because he's unwilling to do his amends. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to drink again. Yeah.
He would do anything, he said, but that. Being intrigued, however, he invited our friend to his home. Sometime later, and just as he thought he was getting control of his liquor situation, he went on a roaring bender. For him, this was the spree that ended all sprees. He saw that he would have to face his problem squarely, that God might give him mastery.
He has to make amends.
One morning, he took the bull by the horns and set out to tell those he feared what his trouble had been. He found himself surprisingly well received and learned that many knew of his drinking. Stepping into his car, he made the rounds of people he had hurt. He trembled as he went about, for this might mean ruin, particularly to a person in his line of business.
He did his 9 step to the best of his ability, about a day or half a day without, but I think his last drink was a beer. Bill's last drink was a beer. Dr. Bob's last drink was a beer. And, he probably still had beer on his breath, and he went out and made the amends. He saw that, he was willing to go to any length, and what was given to him with his last drinking bout, his last drunk, was the gift of desperation. He saw that sobriety had to be placed well above his career.
At midnight, he came home exhausted but very happy. He has not had a drink since. As we shall see, he now means a great deal to his community, and the major liabilities of 30 years of hard drinking have been repaired in 4.
You're going to tell us that sponsorship is spiritual.
But life was not easy for the two friends. Plenty of difficulties presented themselves. Both saw that they must keep spiritually active.
Sponsorship.
One day they called up the head nurse of a local hospital. They explained their need and inquired if she had a first-class alcoholic project.
This guy's name is Bill Dotson, and he's a very famous lawyer in Akron and comes from a famous family, and he's a train wreck, and him and his wife have decided that he's going to be committed. And I think he's in his late 30s, I believe he's in his late 30s, and they have given up. It's done, and it's time to be committed. That's the same conversation Silkworth was having with Lois about Bill Wilson when Bill Wilson was in detox. And he was telling her it's time to think about committing him, be done with him for the rest of his life.
She replied, "Yes, we've got a corker. He's just beaten up a couple of nurses. Goes off his head completely when he's drinking. But he's a grand chap when he's sober, though he's been in here 8 times in the last 6 months. Understand he was once a well-known lawyer in town, but just now we've got him strapped down tight." Here was a prospect, all right, but by the description, none too promising. The use of spiritual principles in such cases was not so well understood as it is now. But one of the friends said, "Put him in a private room, we'll be down."
Anybody ever see the picture of the man in the bed? It's in most of our rooms. That's what we're talking about.
2 days later, a future fellow of Alcoholics Anonymous stared glassily at the strangers beside his bed. "Who are you fellows, and why this private room? I was always in a ward before," said one of the visitors. "We're giving you a treatment for alcoholism."
You wonder why they call it treatment today? They take it from our book. They take that word, treatment, and that's where it comes from.
Hopelessness was written large on the man's face as he replied, "Oh, but that's no use. Nothing would fix me. I'm a goner. The last 3 times I got drunk on the way home from here. I'm afraid to go out the door. I can't understand it." For 1 hour, the two friends told him about their drinking experiences. Over and over, he would say, that's me, I drink like that."
Isn't that wonderful? They talk about their drinking experience. Remember what the doctor's opinion, the title of the doctor's opinion is the doctor's opinion. And the rest of the titles could be our experience. And I had lots of people give me their opinion on my drinking, but it was when a guy who came to me who was a recovered alcoholic, and he told me his experience that attracted me.
The man in the bed was told of the acute poisoning from which he suffered, how it deteriorates the body of an alcoholic and warps his mind. There was much talk about the mental state preceding the first drink. "Yes, that's me," said the sick man, "the very image. You fellows know your stuff all right, but I don't see what good it'll do. You fellows are somebody. I was once, but I'm a nobody now. From what you tell me, I know more than ever. I can't stop." At this, both the visitors burst into a laugh. Said the future fellow anonymous, "Damn little to laugh about that I can see." The two friends spoke of their spiritual experience and told him about the course of action they carried out.
They told him the truth.
He interrupted, "I used to be strong for the church, but that won't fix it. I've prayed to God on hangover mornings and sworn that I'd never touch another drop, but by 9 o'clock I'd be boiled as an owl."
He's a renouncer.
Next day found the prospect more receptive. He had been thinking it over. Maybe you're right, he said. God ought to be able to do anything. Then he added, he sure didn't do much for me when I was trying to fight this booze racket alone. On the third day, the lawyer gave his life to the care and direction of his Creator and said he was perfectly willing to do anything necessary. His wife came, scarcely daring to be hopeful, though she thought she saw something different about her husband already. He had begun to have a spiritual experience.
Her name is Henrietta Dobson. Dotson.
That afternoon, he put on his clothes and walked from the hospital a free man. He entered a political campaign, making speeches, frequenting men's gathering places of all sorts, often staying up all night. He lost the race by only a narrow margin, but he had found God, and in finding God, he found himself. That was in June 1935.
That's what?
He never drank again.
Isn't that beautiful?
He too has become a respected and useful member of his community. He has helped other men recover and is a power in the church from which he has longed.
So this is page 191. The story is Alcoholics Anonymous number 3. This is Bill Dotson. If you read this story, Dotson will give an account of what it was when Bob and Bill came to him, and it's got a lot of difference in it of what really happened. It goes, Dotson writes a little bit deeper, but here's what Bill Dotson writes. It would be hard to estimate how much AA has done for me. I really wanted the program. I wanted to go along with it. I noticed that others seemed to have such a release, a happiness, something that I thought a person ought to have. I was trying to find the answer. I knew there was even more, something that I hadn't gotten. And I remember one day, a week or two after I'd come out of the hospital, a week or two, Bill was at my house talking to my wife and me. We were eating lunch and I was listening and trying to find out why they had this release that they seemed to have. Bill looked across at my wife and said to her, Henrietta, the Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me of this terrible disease that I just want to keep talking about it and telling people. Isn't that beautiful? And that's what, I mean, Dotson probably hears this and says, that's the solution. Keep talking about God, what God has done for me. Shy away from no one and talk about God. If that's your case, boy, you want to have an impact. Talk about God. Talk about God in your meetings. If you're recovered, share with people what He has done for you. I feel indebted to God. I think that when the meeting is getting away and I'm not speaking up, I can feel God saying, hey, this is your time. And you will be unpopular. I promise, you'll be unpopular. Do it anyway. Because I think you're popular with Him. And I think I owe it to Him. Maybe we owe it to Him. I certainly feel indebted. I couldn't stop drinking. And I haven't drank in a long time. I did not do that by myself.
So you see, there were 3 alcoholics in that town who now felt they had to give others what they had found or be sunk. After several failures to find others, a 4th turned up. He came through an acquaintance who had heard the good news. He proved to be a devil-may-care young fellow whose parents could not make out whether he wanted to stop drinking or not. They were deeply religious people, much shocked by their son's refusal to have anything to do with the church. He suffered horribly from his sprees, but it seemed as if nothing could be done for him. He consented, however, to go to the hospital, where he occupied the very room recently vacated by the lawyer. He had 3 visitors. After a bit, he said, "The way you fellows put this spiritual stuff makes sense. I'm ready to do business." I guess the old folks were right after all. So one more was added to the fellowship.
All right, what do you notice about the word fellowship?
Capital F.
It's the first time he's capitalized it. He's used it half a dozen times already, and so he's talking about small. All of a sudden, they got recovered alcoholics. He's got 3 of them. Pretty exciting, I bet. Wouldn't that be exciting?
All this time, a friend of the hotel lobby incident remained in that town. He was there 3 months. He now returned home, leaving behind his first acquaintance, the lawyer and the devil-may-care chap. These men had found something brand new in life. Though they knew they must help other alcoholics if they would remain sober,
They must help other alcoholics.
that motive became secondary. It was transcended by the happiness they found in giving themselves for others. They shared their homes, their slender resources, and gladly devoted their spare hours to fellow sufferers.
Think about it, it was the Depression, so they probably had lots of time, nobody was really working.
They were willing, by day or night, to place a new man in the hospital and visit him afterwards. They grew in numbers, they experienced a few distressing failures, but in those cases they made an effort to bring the man's family into a spiritual way of living, thus relieving much worry and suffering. A year and 6 months later, these three had succeeded with 7 more.
Slow and painful.
Seeing much of each other, scarce an evening passed that someone's home did not shelter a little gathering of men and women, happy in their release and constantly thinking how they might present their discovery to some newcomer. In addition to these casual get-togethers, it became customary to set apart one night a week for a meeting to be attended by anyone or everyone interested in a spiritual way of life. Aside from fellowship and sociability, the prime object was to provide a time and place where new people might bring their problems.
So that was not a AA meeting, but that was a meeting of the Oxford group. And there's a movie out, I don't remember the title, it's about Lois Wilson. Has anybody seen it? Anybody know? My wife and I, we watched it on Prime. There's a great scene where the guys are meeting in the house, and Lois is sitting in the car waiting. So it's in New York. They get some things different. Lois wouldn't have been there, but I get what they were trying to do. But all of a sudden she noticed there was a woman sitting in the car behind her. So she got out and said, "Is your husband in there?" He said, "Yeah, my husband is in there." She said, then she saw another woman sitting in the car. She said, "Your husband in there?" And so then they walk in the house and they go to the kitchen and start making coffee, and all the men look at them like, "What are you guys doing here?" It's like, "You guys can be in here, we can be in here," something like that. So, boy, I wish I remembered the title. We found it on Prime, and it's fairly new. Are you looking it up, Steve-O?
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve-O will find it. He finds everything. But it was good. I didn't, it's a little uncomfortable to watch with my wife.
Well, when love is not
That's
enough.
it. When love is not enough.
Lois Wilson's story.
Yeah, and who is in it? It's a big shot. Judd. One of the Judd. Is it Ashley Judd?
She's the actress.
Oh,
Winona Ryder,
there, Ashley
Mary
Judd.
Prepper,
Winona Ryder.
John Bourgeois.
Winona Ryder. Like I said earlier. I don't know who said Ashley Judd. Yeah, check it out. Maybe not watch it with your Alan on. It's a little uncomfortable. Don't make any comments. I learned the hard way.
Outsiders became interested. One man and his wife placed their large home at the disposal of this strangely assorted crowd.
That's T. Henry Williams.
This couple has since become so fascinated that they have dedicated their home to the work.
There's a great story, Clarence Schneider, who many of you know, we talked about Clarence Schneider a lot in the early, that's kind of what we're doing, is Clarence Schneider's methodology in reading the big book. Clarence Schneider, his story, anyway, he gets to Akron and they bring him into this house, and I think he might be drunk. Jeff, you read the book. Was he drunk when he went into the house, or was he just a couple days? Anyway, Clarence's a thief, he's just basically homeless. And he's looking at all this stuff in these people's house going, "I'm gonna rob him blind." He just thought he'd found a gold mine. And he talks about this, "I can't rob these people." And it was like the first time he didn't steal from somebody who was generous to him.
Many a distracted wife has visited this house to find loving and understanding companionship among women who knew her problem, to hear from the lips of their husbands what had happened to them, to be advised how her own wayward mate might be hospitalized and approached when next he stumbled. Many a man, yet dazed from his hospital experience, has stepped over the threshold of that home into freedom. Many an alcoholic who entered there came away with an answer. He succumbed to that gay crowd inside who laughed at their own misfortunes and understood his. Impressed by those who visited him at the hospital, he capitulated entirely when, later, in an upper room of this house, he heard the story of some man whose experience closely tallied with his own. The expression on the faces of the women, that indefinable something in the eyes of the men, the stimulating and electric atmosphere of the place, conspired to let him know that there was haven at last.
That's supposed to be the way our meetings feel. When you walk into a meeting, I know I walk into a lot of meetings and I feel that. It's like, yeah, this is good, man. I'm glad I'm here. Indescribable. What they would do with these guys, Dr. Bob would put them in a private room. he would give them a false diagnosis, some gastro, so the hospital staff wouldn't question it too bad. And then what they would do is send guys who were recovered, and they would just tell their drinking stories. They wouldn't tell them about how they recovered. They would just come in and say, yep, I drank like that, I drank like that, I drank that. And then Bob would come into the room and say, well, you've heard plenty of stories, and these guys aren't drinking anymore. Do you want what we have? He would take them through a process where, are you willing to go to any length? And then what they were doing is third step prayers. And they come up and then they would surrender. You couldn't go to a meeting. You couldn't walk into the meeting until you had done your third step and had your sponsor with you, that somebody was sponsoring. If a drunk showed up early in meetings, two guys would leave with the drunk. They would, a new guy, hey, I heard I could get some help here. Two guys would get up and take him into a different room. You're not going to be in the meeting until we know where you're at, until you're all in. Because the meetings, I believe, talk mostly about how we're going to carry the message. You know, why do we want to have a new guy in here? He's going to want to talk about his problems. You ever been in a meeting? Yeah. Hey, let's let anybody here sitting on a drink? I love that. There's a meeting in Minneapolis. They asked this. They said, is anybody here sitting on a drink? And then people say, call your sponsor. Please don't share it in here. This isn't where we share. What does the newcomer have to offer? Drinking sucks. You know, if I've forgotten about drinking sucks, then I really want to hear from the newcomer. But if I'm working with lots of newcomers in couch rooms, at my house, in their house, going to detoxes, I know drinking sucks. I remember, man. I know what that hotel room is like. I know drinking sucks. I don't need to have the newcomer come into the meeting that I'm in and tell me that drinking sucks. It's my job to tell him that recovery rocks, that what my life is like. Lead him in a little bit.
The very practical approach to his problems, the absence of intolerance of any kind, the informality, the genuine democracy, the uncanny understanding which these people had were irresistible. He and his wife would leave elated by the thought of what they could now do for some stricken acquaintance and his family. They knew they had a host of new friends. It seemed they had known these strangers always. They had seen miracles, and one was to come. One was to come to them. They had visioned the great reality, their loving and all-powerful Creator. Now this house will hardly accommodate its weekly visitors, for they number 60 or 80 as a rule. Alcoholics are being attracted from far and near. From surrounding towns, families drive long distances to be present. A community 30 miles away has 15 fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's Cleveland.
Being a large place, we think that someday its fellowship will number many hundreds.
How about that? Written in 1939.
But life among Alcoholics Anonymous is more than attending gatherings and visiting hospitals. Cleaning up old scrapes, helping to settle family differences, explaining the disinherited son to his irate parents, lending money and securing jobs for each other, when justified. These are everyday occurrences. No one is too discredited or is sunk too low to be welcomed cordially, if he means business. Social distinctions, petty rivalries, and jealousies, these are laughed out of countenance. Being wrecked in the same vessel, being restored and united under one God, with hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others, the things which matter so much to some people no longer signify much to them. How could they? Under only slightly different conditions, the same thing is taking place in many eastern cities. In one of these, there is a well-known hospital for the treatment of alcoholic and drug addiction. 6 years ago, one of our number was a patient there. Many of us have felt for the first time the presence and power of God within its walls. We are greatly indebted to the doctor in attendance there, for he, although it might prejudice his own work, has told us of his beliefs in ours.
And that is Silkworth and Towns Hospital.
Every few days, this doctor suggests our approach to one of his patients. Understanding our work, he can do this with an eye to selecting those who are willing and able to recover on a spiritual basis.
He's selecting the real alcoholics.
Many of us former patients go there to help. Then in this eastern city, there are informal meetings such as we have described to you, where you may now see scores of members. There are the same fast friendships, there is the same helpfulness to one another as you find among our Western friends. This is a good bit of travel between East and West, and we foresee a great increase in this helpful interchange. Someday we hope that every alcoholic who journeys will find a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at his destination. To some extent, this is already true. Some of us are salesmen and go about. Little clusters of 2s and 3s and 5s of us have sprung up in other communities through contact with our 2 large centers.
Anybody here travel a lot? You know, how blessed are you? You know, that's not the case. You can find hundreds of meetings now, you know, anywhere you go. I can't think of a place you can't go. You can't find us.
Yeah.
Those of us who travel drop in as often as we can. This practice enables us to lend a hand, at the same time avoiding certain alluring distractions of the road about which any traveling man can inform you. Written in 1939. In 2022, there are about 120,455 groups. There is AA activity in approximately 180 countries, with an estimated membership of over 2 million.
And that is now getting closer to under 2 million. You know, we are not growing.
Thus we grow. And so can you. Though you be but one man with this book in your hand, we believe and hope it contains all you will need to begin. We know what you are thinking. You are saying to yourself, I'm jittery and alone, I couldn't do that. But you can. You forget that you have just now tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. To duplicate with such backing what we have accomplished is only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. We know of an AA member who was living in a large community. He had lived there but a few weeks when he found that the place probably contained more alcoholics per square mile than any city in the country. This was only a few days ago at this writing, 1939. The authorities were much concerned. He got in touch with a prominent psychiatrist who had undertaken certain responsibilities for the mental health of the community. The doctor proved to be able and exceedingly anxious to adopt any workable method of handling the situation. So he inquired, what did our friend have on the ball? Our friend proceeded to tell him, and with such good effect that the doctor agreed to a test among his patients and certain other alcoholics from a clinic which he attends. Arrangements were also made with the chief psychiatrist at a large public hospital to select still others from the stream of misery which flows through that institution.
How do you like that writing? Streams of misery which flows. You know, that's like the psych wards and the detoxes and the hospitals you go to, a stream of misery. And there's a lot of doctors, there's lots of priests that have my card. I have a card written up, and I tell them, you know, I got a solution. If you want, every once in a while someone will call me, you know, Father Jack gave me your number, or Dr. Kelly gave me your number. And I'm struggling, because these guys are much more educated than I am. They only have opinions, and I have experience. It's quite a blessing to offer myself up. But the first thing I gotta do is I gotta tell the priest I'm a recovered alcoholic. I gotta tell my doctor, tell the doctors I meet. I got something on the ball here. I could, if you're getting tired of that guy coming in over and over again, maybe I got something for him.
So our fellow worker will soon have friends galore. Some of them may sink and perhaps never get up, but if our experience is a criterion, more than half of those approached will become fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. When a few men in this city have found themselves and have discovered the joy of helping others to face life again, there will be no stopping until everyone in that town has his opportunity to recover, if he can and will. Still, you may say, but I will not have the benefit of contact with you who write this book. We cannot be sure. God will determine that, so you must remember that your real reliance is always upon Him. He will show you how to create the fellowship you crave. Asterisk, Alcoholics Anonymous will be glad to hear from you. Address P.O. Box 459, Grand Central Station, New York, New York, 10163. www.aa.org. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little.
Okay, we realize we know only a little. Guess what's coming? More literature. The 12 and 12 is a beautiful piece of writing. Came to Believe is a beautiful piece of writing. And then, of course, the history book. So when he says we only know a little, because there's more books coming along.
God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come, if your own house is in order.
And that's why we do the steps, because I'm disordered. My house is disordered, and when I go through the steps, my house has become in order.
But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us.
Here's the steps.
Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Amen. And trudge means walk with purpose. It's not a bad thing to trudge. It means walk with purpose. All right. Thank you, guys. Anybody have any comments? Any questions? Joel, fire away.
So now that we've done all these steps, right,
Yeah.
we've reached the highest pinnacle we can reach in AA. It's a trusted servant.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. The highest level you can reach is servant. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. And this is Happy Easter, by the way, and we're going to see the greatest example of service this week, if you follow that story.
I just wanna thank you for your
Thank you, Bill.
expertise on your presentation. And walking out of here, I feel very good about what we've accomplished in here. I feel I have a good understanding of this. I wish some other people in meetings throughout the area had
Thank you.
attended this, but I know we're alcoholics. And I appreciate what you did to get me.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me.
Thank you.
I want to sponsor guys, and so I started attending a lot of these, sitting where you guys are sitting, and man, I just got a wealth of information, and I just try to start, and early on, I just tried to sound smart to these guys, and you just got to be one step ahead of them. And my whole drinking career was conning people, so I could probably get in there and work with the guy a little bit, but now it's working for God, trying to do what God is, and all of a sudden these guys start getting sober. And man, you get a little confidence and you go to more of these. So I want to really encourage you, go to the conferences, like Peggy's got a conference coming up, hear these speakers. But for me, doing this stuff, hearing other guys take other men through the steps and all the literature that's out there, all the help that's out there, it's fantastic. And AA is not growing. We're getting, there's less meetings and there's certainly less membership. We don't know what the membership is. And there's any number of reasons why, but Joe and Charlie were pretty clear, and I believe what they believed is the number one reason why Alcoholics Anonymous is not growing is poor sponsorship. And they talked about, when they came in, they were talking about the treatment centers, how guys were men and women were coming out of treatment and they had already done their fifth step. So they basically let them be sponsored by the treatment centers. And of course our book got watered down. As a matter of fact, today it's hard to find book meetings. You go to a number of meetings where the literature is there. But let's face it, the majority of meetings you go to, there isn't literature out. It's become group therapy and self-help in a lot of places. And Alcoholics Anonymous is God therapy and God help. And the literature promotes that. And you remember early on it says, to whom this book appeals, and to whom AA appeals, to whom sobriety appeals, they want to talk about God. And the hard drinkers stop drinking and their life gets better. And the book isn't appealing to them. And that's okay. I'm glad they're there. They have the only requirement's a desire to stop drinking. But for me, a real alcoholic, I was dying in rooms. And I had sponsors that had no business sponsoring me. And when I started doing this stuff, and I'm just so grateful you guys come. I'm always shocked anybody shows up the second night. It just helps so much, man. It's fantastic. Next year, we're talking about doing it Saturday morning, the first Saturday in January, at like 9 a.m. at the 24-hour club in the big room. So that might, because we've always done it on Wednesdays, Wednesday morning, then Wednesday nights, and now we'll flip it around and see if we can't get a whole nother group of people. So keep your eyes open for next January.
At like 6 a.m., right?
No. We did one at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. That didn't go over very well. Yeah. And think about this. Think about this. One of our new attendees who came the night we were upstairs. We had a new attendee came and sat with Guy. 2 weeks later he was dead. From alcoholism. He only had 2.9, I think, is what I heard. There wasn't much in his. 2 9s, obviously, a bit of an effort, but I've seen worse.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, he couldn't come back because he wanted a date night with his wife. He filled that jar with his pearls. He wanted to make it up to his wife. Sunday morning, we were with a girl. God, this was so beautiful. 6 days, she had 6 days sober. And me and a buddy went over to her afterwards. She was at the 7 a.m. meeting. It was a bit of a train wreck of a meeting. We went over and said to her, listen, why don't you stick around for the 8 o'clock, because it's a big book for beginners. And she said, no, I need to go with my mom. I gotta go see my mom. I've made such a mess out of her life. And I said, how many days do you have sober? She says, 6 days. And God willing, tomorrow I'll have 7. And I said, God willing? God's absolutely willing. Are you willing? And she said, well, I'm gonna go with my mom. And I said, so you're not willing? And she left. And there was a few words said back and forth, and my poor buddy got uncomfortable, and I turned to him, I said, you gotta tell him the truth. She's going, what that meeting we just went through just was off the rails meeting. And I said, we got an opportunity to bring her into the book, and we did a second step meeting right out of We Agnostics. We read We Agnostics, and it was a deep meeting. And she was off trying to repair a relationship at 6 days off a crack with her mom. And it was like, yeah, good luck. And she got mad at me. And that's okay. You know, because the next time, you know, like, I like it when guys are sitting in bars thinking about me. Because I used to sit in bars and think about the guys who made me mad. But I'd sit in meetings thinking about the bars. And pretty soon I'll be sitting, you know, she'll be sitting there smoking about the crack, thinking about me, maybe. Like maybe
I've
that
had
dude.
people say, I hate going to the grocery store to get my liquor because every time you show up.
Yeah, you show up, yeah.
You seem to be at every grocery store I go to.
That's our job, ruin their drinking. They ruined my drinking.
Rent space in their head.
They ruined,
I
yeah.
liked it when you were talking about, Bill, and when he's talking about, starting the meetings in the groups, and they were really small, but it sounded like there were so many. And it's the excitement that you get when you work with a newcomer, and you see the lights start to come on. You know, it's working with someone who's not quite that willing, or not quite, then it doesn't give you that feeling, but when you see somebody's life starting to change, it's exciting.
And they said that in this chapter, somebody who was absolutely willing to do anything. And in working with others, it says this is an experience you must not miss. What you're talking about. Yeah, if you get sober, and you'll see guys in the room 30, 35 years sober, never sponsored anyone, it's like, I'm so glad I'm not you. I mean, I'm so glad, yeah, that my sponsor made me at 90 days get a sponsee and didn't let me out. I tried to get out of it, and that was a day that changed my life. A lot of days have changed my life, but that was a big one. So thanks everybody for coming. We're going to close
Thank you very much.
with a 3rd and 7-step prayer.